meeting for April 14th, 2026. The first item on the agenda is to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get into the agenda, if I could please read something that I received a letter from, an email from, and I think it's appropriate to be able to recognize some of the, our public safety department. This letter is from Chris Darcy, and she is the executive assistant to the township supervisor of Jonathan Warshay. And it says, Dear Mayor McCarthy, a message from West Bloomfield Township Supervisor Jonathan Warshay. On March 12, 2026, West Bloomfield Township experienced the unthinkable when someone drove his vehicle into Temple, Israel. The incident was the first of its kind in this community and something that created fear and unease amongst not only our large Jewish population, but all residents, township employees, and business owners. No community should ever have to feel unsafe when gathering in a house of worship or be fearful for the safety of children attending school. We are eternally grateful for the swift action of the security guards on duty at Temple Israel on this faithful day. This horrendous act could have had a much worse outcome, and we are grateful that no innocent lives were lost. Our gratitude extends to the West Bloomfield Township Police Department dispatchers, fire department, water utility staff members who quickly rose to the occasion with professionalism and bravery. Their actions exemplified heroic and preparedness. The support of your agency was also invaluable to the successful outcome of this hate crime. We would like to thank you sincerely for coming to the aid of West Bloomfield in our time of need. The professionalism and bravery of your team was equally as impressive and very much appreciated. The simple words thank you do not seem adequate. Kindly, Chris Darcy, Supervisor to the Executive Assistant for the West Bloomfield Township. So I would like to recognize Chief King, who is in the audience today, because he was one of many. And you saw in our report that he, of the other ones, that bravely went there and without hesitation. I also will share with you that one of those security guards was a retired Bloomfield Hills police officer. So we're very proud of that. So Chief, thank you. You guys continue to make us proud. Okay, let's go on to the item number 2, the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions, comments on any of the items? The only one I had actually, Chief, was just talking about package theft in the neighborhood. It is one of my pet peeves when my neighbors leave packages on their front doorsteps all day long. I know people don't always see them there, but I was wondering if we can think of some way to try to get something out that if you're not going to be home, I mean, most package delivery people send you a message now and say your package was delivered. But I think leaving big items, I mean, on your front porch, you're just inviting problems. And I saw in your report that we had someone throw pine. So any suggestions that the DPS can give us on that? Or
every situation is different, ma'am. This specific situation included credit card fraud. They weren't actually leaving the packages out. Those responsible were part of a larger coordinated theft ring to targeting Southeast Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And what they would do is they would fraudulently acquire credit cards or debit cards, order things to the actual address where the victim lives, then go there and target the home, track it. When the delivery driver pulls up, you're doing actual surveillance on the house and waiting for the package to be delivered, so that the actual victim isn't
the homeowner.
ordering packages. These are people that fraudulently acquire team did a fantastic job of surveillance, taking the 4 individuals into custody and the investigation's ongoing.
Wow, that's great.
Thank you.
Thank you, good to know. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Can I have an approval on the consent agenda? A motion, excuse me.
I move we can approve the consent agenda as written.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consent agenda approved. Next item on the agenda is recognition of citizens in the audience. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. These are only for items that are not on the agenda for tonight's meeting. Do we have anybody? Okay, with that, we're moving on. The next item on the agenda, the commission will consider the request from the property owner at 100 Bloomfield Hills Parkway for sign variances. Eric?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Peach with Giffords Webster, the city's planning consultant. Our item up for consideration is addressed at 100 Bloomfield Hills Parkway. The site is zoned O1 Office District, located on the east side of Bloomfield Hills Parkway, up against the railroad tracks to the east. We'll move forward here, showing just an aerial. The general location of the proposed signs are towards the front of the building, at the entryway, and then more internal to the site, but we'll go through those details momentarily. So existing wall signs consist of a sign here, located on the edge of the building on a wall, and then there's a existing ground sign structure without any sign information on it currently. The applicant is proposing some new content there. The location is, again, where there's an existing sign at the edge of the building, new signage on top of an existing ground-mounted sign structure, and then a whole new ground-mounted directory sign, more or less where the driveway enters the parking area behind or on the side of the building. So the existing conditions, looking at the building from the front, you see there's 100 address number located on the side of the building. This is actually where the proposed building sign is proposed. As shown here, initially this harness IP, which is the main tenant of the building, was located up here. A few months ago, the Planning Commission had instructed the applicant to reconsider that location, and so that's what's before you today. The reason why the City Commission requires approval of this sign is because it is let me back up. The Planning Commission had considered this sign to be a tenant name, but it was confirmed at the podium during the Planning Commission meeting that harness is the name of the building, and per the definition of a building sign, it is permissible to have the building name as the content of a building sign. And so if you look at the review letter that was written in preparation for this meeting, the third variance request is no longer to be considered by the City Commission.
May I ask, interrupt you, is this name of the firm that there's Harkness, right? Harkness Dickey?
Harness.
Harness.
What's the name of the law firm? That
Harness.
Is it Harness?
IP. They changed
I
it.
think there's a K in there.
Harness intellectual
yeah.
property. No, there's no K.
And so this building, or this building sign initially had a company logo on it as well, and so the applicant had removed that because that's also not permissible on a building sign. So as it stands now, this proposed building sign in this location is in compliance with the ordinance. This is just to give you a little bit more information pertaining to where that building sign is proposed. So there's 2 address numbers on this existing wall. The one surrounded in yellow is proposed to remain as is, and then the one circled or squared in green is where the harness IP building sign is proposed in front of the building. This is just giving more details of the size of the sign. And then some of the details shown here. So the sign height itself is 2 feet, and then each of the letters is 12 inches in height and about 2 1/4 inches in width. Again, this sign now meets the intent of the ordinance standards. Moving on to the second sign, this is an existing sign structure, commonly referred to as a monument sign, but in this case, what's proposed in terms of content here is what's defined in the ordinance as an identification sign. So what was previously on the sign, you may be familiar with the Pulte Group, that had the name of the tenant, which was the primary tenant, and to my understanding, the sole tenant, as well as the address of the building as well. So what's proposed now is Pulte has been removed, and 100 Bloomfield Hills Parkway, for the full address, that's considered an identification sign. And identification signs are not permitted within the zoning district. And so, as a technicality, that's what's before you today. If this was to be considered a building sign, for example, only the address numbers would be permissible. But again, only one building sign is permissible within the district, and that's already been considered by way of the proposed building sign for Harness IP that we just discussed. I also want to mention that this existing sign structure is located near the property line. Ground-mounted sign structures are required to be set back 25 feet from the property line, and so it's an existing non-conforming structure. So the non-conforming section of the ordinance states that if you are to modify a non-conformity in any way, that it would require consideration by the City Commission for variance approval. The final sign is a new sign structure shown here. This is a directory sign. So the O1 office district allows for two different types of signs. The one we just discussed, a building sign located on the wall, and then directory signs. And this one, instead of being proposed on the wall, is a ground-mounted directory sign. And so with that, the intention of these is to be more internal to the site, where it has visibility from both pedestrians and vehicular traffic. And the intention is not for it to be up close to the property line where it may be visible by passersby traffic on Bloomfield Hills Parkway. So just to give a full recap, we did an analysis of the dimensions of these individual signs. The height of the sign amounts to 5 feet, which is what the limitation is within the ordinance. And then the applicant has the main tenant at the top of the sign structure, and then there's 3 additional tenant spaces for any additional tenants that may be interested in occupying the building. So one detail to note regarding this particular sign is that the Planning Commission was, or made it a requirement that this sign not be installed or erected until a second tenant name is indicated or determined. And so that information should be relayed to the City Commission in making their determination as well. So just to give you a little bird's eye perspective, that directory sign is located here. So this little island is where the non-conforming identification sign is located with the address and the street name. And then once you pull into the property, there'll be this other directory sign installed there. So another piece of information that the Planning Commission considered was for the applicant to consider some landscape screening to help soften the location of the proposed directory sign so that views from the street are diminished or limited. And so that may be something that the City Commission would also entertain with the applicant who's here. So that concludes my presentation. The applicant is also here for any questions you have for him.
Good evening. My name is Chris Kajoyan with the Kajoyan Companies, joined by Scott Reynolds, our in-house architect, who created a lot of the signage you're seeing here. So to back up a little bit, we originally came into the Planning Commission a few months ago with some additional signage, particularly the monument sign on the road had the building name on it as well as the address. We were asked to simplify that and kind of make it more, understated, more elegant, that would fit in with the surroundings and the character of Bloomfield Hills. So we did remove that name from the monument sign as requested. The numeral is permitted there, as was noted, the 100, to avoid confusion and to not, have one, little numeral on that big sign. We are proposing putting the street name on there as well. So it's, as you saw, left justified towards the road. I just want to clarify, we do not have the intention of putting any other signage on that monument sign, nor are we going to come back and ask for that. It truly is intended to be, wayfinding, so someone driving by sees the address of the building there, and they know that's the entrance. There is occasionally confusion with the neighboring building because the drives are in close proximity to each other. The building sign was noted. We have a large anchor tenant, Harness IP. The law firm is taking over 50,000 square feet in the building. So they're the anchor tenant. They get the rights to be, the Harness building. And this is consistent with what we do throughout our portfolio. So many people would know the PNC building in Troy. It's the tower right on 75, a 25-story building. That is the PNC Center. PNC is the largest tenant in that building. And that is, consistent throughout our marketing materials and everything. So it truly is the PNC building. And throughout our portfolio, that's kind of the norm that we go with. The larger tenants or the anchor tenant in the building has the rights to name the building. So that's what we're going for here. The directory signage that we're proposing inside of the actual property, which I can jump back to that. So this really is intended for capturing the vehicle traffic within the site. So there's visitor parking adjacent to where it's going. It's hard to see with the laser here, but there's visitor parking here as well as this parking lot here. So the intention of this sign is for people to arrive. They confirm that, the tenant that they're visiting is in the building. They see the sign, they park. They'll also see it walking by. Again, it's not intended to be visible from the road. The letters on the sign itself are 3 inches in height, so it's not meant to be visible from the 80 feet away that the road is, the edge of the road. So that one there, complies with the ordinance, and is important for us just for that wayfinding, within the site. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and Scott is here as well to do so.
Anybody have any questions?
I have a question, Mark. Am I allowed to, I represented them 10, 12 years ago, this group in an inverse condemnation. We lost 4-3 in the Supreme Court. Am I allowed to ask questions or vote on this, or is that a conflict?
When was that done?
When did we lose that case? In 2008, 2010?
I don't believe there's any continuing relationship there then.
Good. All right.
Okay.
Then now I'm gonna ask my question. With that pink thing is, you're losing that sign until you get a second tenant, right?
Yeah, so our intention, what we committed to the planning commission, if this got approved, we would not put the sign in place until there was a second tenant. So you'll see.
If you had the sign there, wouldn't it be easier if you find a second tenant saying your name can be right below?
So as I committed to them, I won't put it up, and I'm going to be able to show them this picture and say, hey, once you sign the lease, I can put your name on the
We can
sign.
amend what the planning commission does, can't we? You got the second person who's just, wouldn't it help you? I want to fill these darn buildings up, okay? So will it help you fill the building up if you have your sign, the Harness sign up there, so you can put up, say you can be the next one down there, and we'll put you, Harness below you even, or something? Would that help you market the building?
It would, and I would say the office market is very competitive right now. There are not many large tenants out in the marketplace, and we're doing everything we can to get them here in Bloomfield Hills.
How would we go about amending the planning commission recommendation and let that sign, it will make a difference in marketing that building. It just will. How do we go about amending that, may I ask?
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
If I may, section 1610, paragraph A, an appeal from the decision of the city manager or planning commission pursuant to the terms of this chapter in respect to location, erection, alteration, maintenance, or removal of a sign may be taken to the city commission. So I think using that paragraph, you would have the authority to entertain an appeal.
They don't have to give a written thing, they can just be here and appeal right now, right?
I was just going to suggest that I don't think there's an appeal definition here. So I think a verbal appeal would satisfy the criteria of this.
I would ask that you guys would consider removing that condition.
Thank you.
Frankly, once we sign the lease, it's going to go up anyways, so
You're pretty close, too.
we are.
Very-
We have a lease out for negotiation
Hope you're not offended.
right now, and their name would absolutely go on the sign.
Yes, wait a minute, hold on just a
More
second.
Allowed to, you should
I
say
would
something.
also
I
note
want to
for the
market my
record
city.
that-
Hold on just a second, please, thank you.
I just wanted to note for the record, I believe at the planning commission meeting, it was brought out that this particular sign met all the criteria for the ordinance.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. You guys okay?
And I agree, there was no
Fine,
other
yeah.
logical place for you to put that.
Yeah. Are you guys okay?
Yeah, could we amend that?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, appeal granted.
All right.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion?
Motion to,
And, with the motion, it's gonna have to state that the appeal went, okay?
I move to approve the planning commission approval, except with the additional amendment that the original, the sign that was prohibited by the planning commission now be allowed.
Directory sign,
Directory sign. So, I think,
prior to
yeah,
signing of another lease.
right away, right?
Right away.
Right. So, yeah, okay, that was the motion. Amy, did you get that?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, do I have a second?
I second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Can I-
Opposed?
Can I just
Oh,
ask for
yeah.
clarification? I know it
What do you
was
want us to,
addressed,
whatever you want us to do to reinstate it, I'll say it.
the motion regarding the appeal from the directory sign. I understood that, but were you also addressing the variance requests that were up?
I was hoping so.
Okay.
Whatever the planning commission approved with that variant.
Maybe there could be maybe some discussion regarding the 4 criteria contained in the ordinance for granting a variance. They are set forth on page 7 of the Giffords letter. And maybe ask the applicant to address those 4 points.
Can we just, instead of reading these, can we just add to the motion?
We need to ask him.
If that is,
He's saying we need to verbally ask the applicant
Oh,
to comply.
typically, when there's criteria like this to grant a variance, typically just reference to the standards is not sufficient. There needs to be specific findings made. I believe the planning commission brought forth many of these criteria, but you could reference the planning commission minutes as a basis for granting this. But if there's, in reviewing these 4 points, if you have any specific questions, it would be appropriate to direct them to the applicant, just to flesh out the record for this variance request. In this sense,
If
we're
I-
acting like a ZBA almost, so.
Well, you're gonna need to give us the verbiage,
If-
because,
If I could, I would be happy to
Sure.
jump in. I'm a planning commissioner involved in a government role, so thank you very much, Commission, for your time this evening. I think you're speaking to introducing some findings of facts, so there's grounds for the basis of the ruling.
Yeah, we know how to do it.
So I'll just say that the couple of hardships that we're looking at here is that the identification sign as proposed in the ordinance is not allowed in this district. It was something that was proposed previously with the Pulte signage, as you see here. The second hardship that we're looking at here, the current sign location, as the ordinance is currently written, is not allowable. It's not permissible, but it's obviously a structure that was built many years ago.
the existing condition.
Correct. So it's an existing condition, so we would ask that the hardship be that it's an existing component. It's existing if there wasn't signage allowable, or the 100 Bloomfield Hills Parkway allowable on that sign, that nothing could go in there per ordinance. So we're asking for that hardship or that grant of the variance from you commissioners
In
here this
addition,
evening.
this is distinct from many of the other signs that are on main roads, on major roads. I would not be of mind like this if this was a vacant sign on Long Lake Road or Woodward. I think the fact that it's set back in an area that's not as exactly as conducive to office as it was in 1984 when the office was built, that it would, it's something that's distinctly needed in this situation for the building to survive. In a situation where this community wants buildings and offices to remain viable. And it's one of pure safety, because if we have a building that's empty, or remains permanently empty, to the extent that our buildings are, we will have vandalism and a waste of our buildings completely.
And may I also
Pure
suggest,
police power.
may I also suggest that, because in large part the signs are existing already, that the granting of the requested variance would not be material detrimental to the property owners in the vicinity.
That should be included.
Yes.
Sure.
As well as the fact that the wording, the number, as well as the street name were pre-existing.
We got enough of a basis?
Do we have enough basis?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, okay. All right, so do we have to do the motion over, or?
I got it.
You got it?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, can I have a second?
A second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. There you go.
Thank you
Good
all
Very
luck.
much for your evening.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next item on the agenda, the commission will consider the request from the property owner at 74 East Long Lake Road for sign variances.
Okay.
Eric?
Our next item for consideration is for a proposed sign at 74 East Long Lake Road. The applicant is requesting a sign along East Long Lake Road, however, within the right-of-way. So the ordinance requires ground signs to be within the private property, no less than 25 feet setback from the property and right-of-way line. So just to give you a little bit of an overview, property is highlighted here in these three colors. The front yard in front of the building, up to the front property line, is highlighted in green. We have the two side yards in yellow, and then the rear yard highlighted in orange in the back. And to just zoom in on some of the analysis that we did here, the applicant initially proposed the ground sign in this location here, approximately 14 feet 5 inches from the curb, or where the paving section of Long Lake Road is. You can see here that if you were to apply the ordinance standard, 25 feet back is to the pink line, which, as shown here, the existing building is encroaching in that area. The zoning code for the office district requires setbacks for new buildings to be 75 feet from the center line of East Long Lake Road. So that's where there's a little bit of a friction, I guess, between the two ordinances, where the sign ordinance requires a setback of 25 feet, but that would be in the area of where the existing building is. So we were able to have the applicant shift the original sign back to the location shown here. We also had a requirement that the Road Commission for Oakland County approve the plans to be located in their right-of-way. So what's before you today is for a dimensional variance request for the proposed sign structure not to satisfy the 25-foot setback within private property. And again, we would only bring that to you if the applicant had permission, written permission from the Road Commission. So the other variances before you is for the name that's on the sign, Safedine Oil Company. As was explained by the applicant during the Planning Commission meeting, that is not the name of the building. It is the primary and sole tenant, but the building is owned by a different owner, so therefore it is a tenant name on a building sign, which is not permitted. And then in addition to that, there's a company logo to the left. And when the Planning Commission took this into consideration for their analysis of the site plan, their recommendation was to forward it to the City Commission, subject to the logo being removed from the sign. So just to give you a few more details here and visuals, this is just a color rendering of the existing right-of-way. And I think I have a dimension showing what they're asking for. So again, the property line is roughly here, marked by this blue line. And then in the spirit of the ordinance, the 25-foot setback required typically within a private property, that setback from the right-of-way is being achieved here. So again, just looking at kind of our analysis of this, the existing building complies with the setback, but is 16.54 feet back from the property line. So they have limited space here, and there's some existing landscaping that makes it difficult to propose any additional structures there. The 25-foot sign setback from the property line is behind the front building face. The landscape bed exists between the building and the right-of-way, kind of limiting the area for new signage there. And so we believe it's within keeping of the spirit of the ordinance as being 25-foot back from the curb along East Long Lake Road. And then as you see here, there's the visibility triangle, 25 by 25. There's no obstruction into that area as well. So that concludes my presentation, and the applicant is here if there's additional questions.
Eric, just a quick question. So if you're not the building owner, but in the lease, it says that you can name the building for the primary tenant, is that sufficient for this?
I think that that is something that can be considered, because that's essentially what brought it with the last application for 100 Bloomfield Hills Parkway. It was understood up until the meeting that the tenant was not the building owner, or the name of the building, and so I think that that could be taken into consideration.
But they changed their dialogue to say that the name of the building is the tenant,
Correct.
the same as the tenant. So
Yes.
they changed
They changed it,
the
and so,
definition. So I don't know that this building owner is
well, they would need permission from the building owner.
correct.
But they're
I
just
don't know
the
that they
tenant.
have, I don't think they have that.
At this point, they do not have that, and that was affirmed by the applicant.
Mark?
I think to that point, I think the intent of this is to keep building signage from having a laundry list of all the tenants involved and just have one name. And I think the fact that it was brought out in front of the planning commission, likely here, that this is the sole tenant. So this is not gonna be a situation where there's even a potential for a laundry list. This is just gonna be a single name. So I think it would be in keeping and similar to a building name, even though it's not technically building name. So I think in that sense, it would be in keeping with the intent of the ordinance.
Do we need to say anything in our approval that prevents any opportunity for them to add a name?
Well,
If they sublet some
if-
to someone else, or they,
if this is a variance being granted to allow this name to be listed because it is the sole tenant, if they attempt to add another tenant, it would violate the variance grant. So
okay, great.
I'd be satisfied with that, if
Thank you.
that's the desire of the commission.
Anybody else have any other questions? I can share just at the planning commission that
Make you help?
MacuHealth. So the building to the west, directly to the west of this building, they came in front of us a while back, and we were really concerned about spacing and size along that, because those buildings are so close together on Long Lake Road. And so actually we made them put a cardboard sign up there so all the commissioners could drive by and see how big it was gonna be. And because I think it is really close, and as everybody knows, if you don't know, right to the east of this building, the subject site, is going to be a brand new office building. And they're gonna come in front of us and they're gonna ask for a sign. So what we talked about was, kind of in keeping with this group of cluster of office buildings, we keep the signs back from the road at the same, feet back, and the size of the sign also. It doesn't have to be the same sign, but it has to be, you can't have a big, huge sign there. You have to be in keeping with the, right from the other sign, so.
Do we need to say, per approval of Dave, the city manager? I mean, because just vaguely saying similar in size.
What did we say in the motion?
In the motion, it says similar in size to MacuHealth. So do we need any kind of check?
There was a little
and balance?
concern from the administration between the meetings, because the sign that's
MacuHealth.
So a sign, the dimensions of signs are measured from the ground to the top, and then the width, you can have a base and then a top sign. And so I just just wanted to say that we're a little bit concerned about the actual sign size of that MACU Health, because it may be bigger than we think. And this sign in particular is 24 square feet, which is the maximum. It fits within the ordinance. But the I hate to say, to talk about the MACU Health sign, that it can be the same size, because I'm hoping that they're not bigger. So that's my only concern. We had some difficulty of determining if that was true or not, so I don't know.
When the MACU House sign was approved by the planning commission recently, that the base was existing, and the only thing that was requested to be changed was the actual name, and that size was 16 square feet, but that did not include the base.
Yeah.
So I think to Dave's point, if this meets the ordinance, you may be safer approving this as proposed than tying it to the MACU Health sign.
Oh, got it, okay.
Much better said, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. The other thing to consider is, although it's our decision, the planning commission did give a recommendation that we not allow the logo on the sign.
I would agree with that.
So that was their recommendation for everybody here. And we typically do not allow logos on signs.
Going back to the size, I drove by the MACU Health, and it will look smaller just because the base is concrete, a lighter, they're two different colors.
Mhm.
This is gonna look more massive because it's all one color.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So I just wanted to point that out.
I agree with you. It does look smaller, yes.
MACU Health, you just,
Since we have the logo coming off, just so we don't complain later, do we have a sense of the size of each of the letters and the widths of them all, like
oh, good
did on
question.
the last one?
I can't remember if I put that on here.
It's a good
I
question.
hate to have them come back to give us the design, but I'd be very unhappy if we don't have
Is
all
Carly
those,
here?
those
Yeah.
three
Oh,
signs.
great, maybe you could tell us.
Those three signs of a uniform width and height. Because you're gonna have three
Oh, that's a
signs there
good
on
point.
Long Lake Road from the sounds of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe I do have that size, but I could get it to you.
So maybe to your point, Commissioner Fisher, that we could grant this, but given that you'd have to give the letter size to Dave, and Dave,
And not to exceed MACU Health.
Yes, yes.
I mean, I just think about it,
Okay.
Is that
and
okay?
what worries me is that if Avery was still there and he was making, would he be using 5 letters and have to have a bigger width and a bigger, I don't know how you do that uniformly. We looked at this last person who came in here, when Joanne came in with harness, they know what their size, how do you do that when you have different names? So I'm just raising that as an issue, because I think you'd be really in a conflict somewhere else if you have someone else with only 6 letters and they want to have bigger letters than Safedine. I don't know, just suggesting.
Well, the text is gonna get slightly larger, I would expect, right?
Yeah, just a logo removed, I would anticipate them enhancing the size slightly.
But there's there's
The size limit for the
there's
text, right?
yes, these letters comply here, right?
Yes. Yeah, I don't have the exact
Okay.
dimensions.
We're gonna-
I can make sure they're compliant with the
Okay,
ordinance.
I think
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
bottom line, as long as they comply. And
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't like it if someone with 5 letters came in next door to you and it blasted you in the face and you're Safedine with less. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. It just, the objective for me is that all these 3 buildings, they kind of flow. There's no one giant, not one sticking out. It looks really nice and uniform in that area.
Yes, we got it.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Can I have a motion?
Madam Chair?
Oh, sorry.
I don't know if you want to hear from the applicant.
Oh, Carly, I'm sorry. Come on up, introduce yourself, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Carly Affolter from Sinorama Troy, representing Safedine Oil.
Does anybody have
Thank
any
you.
questions for Carly?
No.
Okay. Got off easy this time. There you go.
I'll make a motion if you'd like.
Sure, love.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the requested sign at 74 East Long Lake Road to be approved, but that the logo be removed and the size of the overall sign be similar or lesser than the MacuHealth sign per approval by City Manager Dave Hendrickson, and that the letters on the sign also be approved and be equal to or lesser than size in the neighboring sign, MacuHealth, for approval of City Manager Dave Hendrickson.
Yes, sir.
I would just suggest, pursuant to the facts brought out by the planning commission and due to the facts, discussed by the city commission.
Oh, per recommendation of the planning commission,
Okay.
Yeah, based upon their findings. Got it.
based
Yeah,
on their
I would
findings,
reference the factual findings of the planning commission.
based on the factual findings of the planning commission,
Amy, do you have that?
and
Yes,
reflecting
thank
their
you.
wishes.
Okay, can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Carly, you got your sign. Okay, moving on, the commission will discuss the, actually two here. The approval of plank type sign for Trowbridge and approval of cost difference for 6 plank signs. Dave, who's taking this?
Commissioner Baxter.
Oh, before you speak, I'd just like to disclose that I'm a resident of Trowbridge Farms. However, I feel that I could be objective in this matter.
Okay, so I just thought I should close the loop on this. Just a little bit of history on the planks. So originally, the planks were developed because in Bloomfield Hills, we have a majority of the signs actually are currently wooden planks. So the idea was, as we work through this replacement program, we would be replacing with planks instead of, something else. As we work through this project, City Manager Hendrickson brought in some samples of metal blades and some different configurations for that. And those were actually quite a bit less expensive than the wooden planks. And so I think we've moved in that direction for the majority of the city, with the addition of end caps, which make the signs a little bit more decorative and appealing. However, the wooden plank is still an option for, or at least what I'm proposing is that the wooden plank still be an option for other neighborhoods. The first of which would be Trowbridge Farms, due to its very natural setting, kind of a rustic feel in that area. The wooden plank really fits well with the neighborhood. And because there's been quite a bit of work done on the plank as far as the engineering around it, the width, the size, the hole that fits the post, the paint, the DOT glass beads that go into the paint for the reflectivity. There's been a lot of investment in the plank. So I would like to see it at least utilized in the Trowbridge Farms neighborhood. However, there is a cost difference, as I mentioned, and I just wanted to point out for clarification too that the total cost is correct, but it's really the difference that we're looking at between the wooden sign versus the metal blades. And I did a quick back of the agenda calculation here, and it's actually about $924. Let's call it $1,000 difference between what would be metal blade and wood plank. And
Overall for all of the signs?
for the 6 signs that I've been able to count within Trowbridge.
So if your house sells for $10,000 more, you get an extra $400 a year in taxes, so 3 houses sell.
Well, I understand the theory is that you have not dirt roads, but you're the one area that does not have paved roads, hence the more natural wood.
Right.
Can
I
I
did-
add, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
just
go
to
ahead.
clarify, but the roads, like your road, the road off Woodward is gonna be metal, not wood.
Yes, so these would be
I'm sorry. You have to introduce,
sorry.
I know you.
Chris Bauer, Trowbridge Farms,
Okay.
representing Trowbridge Farms neighborhood. Yes, it's my understanding we metal blades on Woodward, and it would be the intra-neighborhood signs. I don't know if you considered Kensington and Warrington in the count of the signs, because that's also the Trowbridge Farms neighborhood. The only sign that would, there's Trowbridge Court off of Kensington,
Okay.
and then Warrington Road, I believe there's one in the neighborhood, there's one on Woodward, that would be metal blade.
Mhm.
But further in, where Charing Cross Court is at, I don't know if we have another sign there.
Yeah, I wasn't clear exactly where those signs, or if there are signs there.
And additionally, I think part of your motivation to have these signs, in addition to the rusticity of them, is our neighborhood is very historic. It's the first subdivision that was plotted in Bloomfield Hills, so it has a historic nature. Now Warrington isn't part of that historic center section, nor is the subdivision that's part of us that's on Kensington. So you could eliminate them based on historic
Or include them.
neighborhood.
Well, we're gonna, it could be a request from others as well, so that could get really expensive.
I agree.
And we did talk about doing everything the same. The whole reason we went through this process is to get a consistent sign throughout the city, but
And I think that would look best as well. I like the idea of the wooden planks in the neighborhoods. I think it would look really nice. I did share these signs with the neighborhood and invited residents to weigh in on their opinions. Overwhelmingly, people supported the wooden planks. We also overwhelmingly support the Shannon typeface, because we have an existing sign at Canterbury and Burnham that's been out there for around a year or so. And that typeface has a very slight serif. It's very readable from a distance. I know that roadway has been the preferred typeface that's been selected among the commission, but even if we could keep the Shannon typeface in the neighborhood, utilizing those existing signs, because if we put in wood planks with roadway and then we kept the Shannon planks at Burnham and Canterbury, it wouldn't be consistent.
well,
It would
that's
be
kind
nice
of,
to utilize what we already have.
I respect that, but I think we had talked earlier, if we are gonna divert and let someone do wood signs, the one thing we would draw the line on is everybody has the same font throughout the whole city. So I think, I disagree. I think it should be consistent throughout.
Okay, and I think
And-
it should
and
be
the other font
consistent
is-
too. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry,
No,
but
I like the roadway too. It does look kind of consistent to what the sans serif font has been in the past. I think it would look great throughout the city, but it seems like that is not the consensus among.
well, part of our issue is the state prefers that, and we're diverting from
That's right.
the green
I
because,
forgot about that.
so
Okay.
if we can have
All right.
something consistent.
We can make an exception because of the historic nature of that neighborhood, can't we?
You can do whatever you want.
I'm personally neutral on the font. I do like the Shannon. I'm fine with roadway. I'm more interested in the plank itself. I just wanted to point out that what you're looking at right now on the Eaton Cross, which I apologize, that got spelled incorrectly. Not an A in Eaton.
Everybody does it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that is the roadway font you're looking at right there. And then the Burnham on the right-hand side, Alan, you probably can't see it. Maybe Alice, you're having trouble too, but that is the Shannon font. So that's,
Oh,
and then,
Yeah,
Dave, can you possibly lift that, please? Just so they can see the difference. Thank you.
just turn it the other way. The other way. Yep, there. So that's
What is that?
the Shannon on top on
Uh-huh.
Burnham. And then if you turn it back to where it was,
The other side?
counterclockwise. No. Keep going.
The other counterclockwise?
Yeah. That on the bottom is the roadway.
Which is
Eaton
what
Cross.
Yeah.
that's what the state requires. No?
Well, the state's not requiring, it's more in keeping with what the state would expect, or the county would expect for a font on a sign. The other thing I want to point out is you see the decorative feature on the ends of the plank. That exactly matches the end cap decorative feature that we have on the metal blades as well, so there's some connection.
Consistency, right?
Yeah, consistency and connection there as well.
As well as the connecting mechanisms and.
Yeah, everything
and the
else,
knob on
everything
the
else
top.
is the same, all the same brackets are used. The wooden planks actually drop in quite a bit easier than the metal blades because there's nothing you have to do, you drop them on the post and screw the top on, so. So for Trowbridge, we're looking at about $1,000 difference over the metal blade sign.
And just so you understand, it's a replacement process, so unfortunately, throughout the whole city, everything is gonna look a little bit different, so I apologize if those two, the one sign is a little bit different until it's weathered to the point where it needs to get replaced.
Oh, okay, so we would have to retain the existing Burnham and Canterbury sign, wood plank sign that's there.
That's gonna be a city judgment based
Well,
on the cohabitation.
It's not really.
It's a replacement process, is
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm just trying to
it's-
say.
It's fine, it'll be fine until it gets replaced.
There's some concern about the additional cost. Is that something where, what if the association pitched in or something to offset that cost? I think that's something we could do. I think it would be worth having, our neighborhood is so rapidly evolving and we've got, our property values are going up. Anything we can do to kind of amp up our presence, I think is worth it.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you brought that up, appreciate that. Obviously, you'd have to check with, check that out, but, yeah, the actual amount for the neighborhood is, is not that great, so I think we could find a way to, and I think,
Contribute in some way.
in fairness, because the rest of the city is investing in the metal blades, and that is a lower cost, I mean, we're asking for something that is more,
And there
we
may
could,
be other neighborhoods in the future that would like to do that, and if they do choose to do that, if they help offset the cost difference,
Right.
it could be an option for them.
Can I just ask a comment?
Sure.
Are we getting back into where, someone goes over and has dinner at Brad's house and lives in my neighborhood and goes, how come we don't have the wood signs? I like those better. I mean, we are running into, and I can say, well, they're a historical district and, you can say all that, but you ask 12 different people which one they like, you're gonna get 12 different replies. So I personally don't have a trouble with it. I can see where we might be having wood signs and metal signs in the neighborhood. And one of the things we were trying to do was
Trying to avoid all
We
that.
have to make,
mix.
if we approve this, we have to really make it clear, because of the perception of this being a historic area, we want to leave these signs, and that's the reason we're doing it.
Chris, do you know about the history of Trowbridge Farms? I know you've told us. Is there
Yes.
something you can tell us tonight that could help convince people that it's unique?
Yes, well, it was developed by Judson Bradway and the roads were put in approximately 1915. It was incorporated as a subdivision in 1920. When the roads were put in, it was the same time that Bloomfield Estates roads were put in. And so it is the oldest platted subdivision in the city. Gosh, what else can I tell you? I mean, there's a lot of historical people that have lived there. There was Roland Trowbridge, who was a senator at one point, and yeah, so it's an important area, and I think it's a special neighborhood. A lot of people that buy in our neighborhood have always, I hear often, this is my favorite neighborhood, and everywhere. It feels like you're up north. And like Brad was saying, we're very rustic and wooded, and it's a special place. And we have a very strong sense of community in our neighborhood. Everybody knows each other, which is special. We, really work hard to foster that. And so, yeah, I think we're set apart from other neighborhoods. I know there's other historic neighborhoods in the city. It would be nice for them to have an opportunity to opt into the wooden planks as well. You know, to your concern, in advance of ordering and then being disappointed with what they have and then trying to change it later. I don't know, or is that just making, you know, mountain out of a molehill? But I hope that is sufficient to help convince that we would prefer to have something with some character and substance, and something befitting the character of our neighborhood.
I think if this is approved with the provision that the cost difference is covered by the neighborhood, then that kind of takes away the problem that you brought up of, you know, somebody says, well, why can't we have those? Well, you can, you just have to pay for them.
Yeah.
We're doing it at a time where it's most cost effective because we don't have to, you know, bear the full cost of the.
Out of respect to our co-commissioner, and I think my neighbor's right. I think that, you know, we want to do this. We should really write up something very specific and the reasons for doing it, and we do it here. I don't want to just approve this, or else we're going to have a lot to deal with the rest of the community.
Have
Which
some
is,
criteria.
what do you call it? Can we just table this for the
It's
month?
gotta be an exception because it's a
I
historic
want a really
district,
good
it's the first
explanation of
district.
this.
So
I think
if we
there's a
do
lot of
it.
people here who all want to do this. Unless you want to really write up right now, they'll take us 20 minutes. Want something really well written.
Do I ask the question, I mean, like, this has been going on for 2 years, so forgive me, I keep forgetting everything we've discussed, but, I mean, did we wanna go with wood signs throughout the whole city and not have to worry about it? I just am
Well,
asking,
I
don't
go
know.
back again to the history of this, which was the whole reason for the planks in the first place was because the majority of the signs in the city are wooden planks. And this was a incremental replacement program. This is not a wholesale replace everything program. And so in order to make things look similar to what was already out there, the wooden plank sign was designed to replace the planks that are already in the city. That was the intent. Along the way, metal blades came in, and that was a less expensive option. But there was, you know, I still had an interest in the planks, at least for our neighborhood, and I think I personally think the planks have a classier look for the intra-neighborhoods than the metal blades do. The metal blades, to me, they just shout at you, they're so bright, and that's fine for a road sign. But I think the planks have a nice patina. They weather very nicely over time. They reflect the nature of the neighborhood. That was the intent. So along the way, we got caught up in, you know, what is less expensive, what is more expensive, and that's where the metal blades became the primary option. And to make the metal blades look better without the rounded edges, we came up with the end caps. So that's the history. This was the original proposal. So, I mean, it still could be citywide if that's what the commission wants. If we need more time to think about that, we could do that.
Spend a month to think about it.
'Cause
I do too,
And
to
I
be
think we need
honest
to
with
ask
you,
the residents.
I do too, I wanna go back and ask my neighborhood and say,
Right.
here you are, which ones
Yeah.
would
A
you
sample
like?
of both
Yeah,
and let them see it.
yeah,
Well, the brackets will fit either way, so.
my thought is, thank you for bringing it in, thank you for bringing the attention and the history, it's very important right now. And I think it's worth just waiting a month and I would like to get residents'
I
feedback.
think it's a great idea. I
It-
think it's a great idea, and I do wanna say one other thing, only because I have painted street signs myself. You've seen me out there painting the sign on Woodward because of the salt, and it's so harsh on the signs on Woodward. I do prefer the metal on Woodward.
Oh, good point. I
Just
agree.
because they just deteriorate. The ones that are inside, the wooden planks inside of our neighborhood are fine, but the ones on Trowbridge or
So
on
any high
Woodward,
traffic
yeah,
street.
it's just, they really get beat, so
Yeah,
that's.
good point.
my
That's a
only-
good point,
That's
thank
a
you.
good point, thank you. So can I have a?
Motion
do
to
we want
table
motion-
for a
Do we want a
month.
motion to table?
Motion, second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we all have our homework to do. Dave, gonna have to make up some signs here.
So I think we need to go to each neighborhood and show them a sample of each.
Yeah,
Have a
absolutely.
gathering and
Yeah.
have a silent ballot and.
Love it. Yep, great idea. Okay, that one got tabled. Item number 7 is off, we will be addressing that at a later date. Item number 9, the commission will discuss potential amendments to the development moratorium. Is this you, Dave, or?
Well, I just want to mention that we talked with Mark recently and just wanted to make sure that the city commission was comfortable with the current language in the moratorium. And if there's any desire to make any changes to that or expand the area, to make any further clarifications, that I'm sure Mark can, make some recommendations or suggestions based upon whatever the commission wants.
I think we all talked about expanding the area. Could you help us with determining where that would begin and end, and how we word that?
Or and uses.
Yeah.
The, what was presented to me initially when I developed this moratorium was, the perception that there was a number of office buildings around the Long Lake and Woodward intersection that appeared to be either vacant or a large vacancy in them. And the feeling was that we needed, before any other proposals for office space were presented, that there should be a study done to determine if there was a better approach for the zoning restrictions in those areas. And so initially the moratorium was proposed for a period of 90 days, which is fairly short, but I thought that was the best way to start, just to determine if there was a need to consider some rezoning, with the possibility we could always extend it if needed. The other criteria that I used in developing the moratorium was the area. And again, I was going after the master plan, the land use map from the master plan, which depicts the red area being the city center. And what the moratorium ended up saying was we were going to be looking at commercial and office use in the city center area. And what I meant by that, and maybe this is something that could be clarified if you'd like, was the city center red area here, but also the office pink area in this general vicinity of the intersection.
Okay.
Yeah, the podium. We've got a new podium.
Might be better if I stand up.
So instead of all the office districts throughout the entire city, I believed, based upon our conversation, that we were concerned about just the city center area, which is not limited to the city center per se, but the area, including the office space around that general area of the intersection that I described. So
Are we also concerned about the church?
there's two questions that I would suggest be addressed. Is the length, which I think based upon the discussion that was conducted in front of the planning commission is going to have to be extended at some point. And then do you want to change the description of the moratorium? I would emphasize that the moratorium merely prohibits applications and zoning being processed in that particular area. It does not restrict what the zoning exploration is going to be. So, if it comes back after the study that there should be a change in the entire office district description in the city, that's not prohibited just because the moratorium is limited to the area. One has nothing to do with the other. The moratorium is just to freeze an area of the city while things are being studied.
So that more office can't be built until we analyze it better.
In this area.
Mark, for the next we're running through the third month, but this isn't the third month. And as a planning, we're at least 4 or 5 months away.
No, like I said, the way it was initially discussed is we put 90 days, just because that was kind of the quickest turnaround to see if there was an issue to even be addressed.
There's an issue.
I think there is, so then the discussion will be, how long do we extend it? Bearing in mind that a moratorium can't, be open-ended, and it does need to be, fairly tight.
My calculation today was the minimum is 4 months, more months.
Minimum.
Real bare minimum, which means.
And in that vein, that's to complete the study.
Yeah.
If then we decide that there's a need to address the ordinances, that's gonna take additional time, at least, I would say maybe 2, maybe 3 months at a minimum.
Well,
Is
we
that
shouldn't do
legal
that
to
until we
extend it
know.
that long?
If we do this,
I have seen moratoriums extended over a year. I would not,
So 6 months isn't out of line.
I don't think 6 months would be out of line, no. Particularly if it's demonstrated that we are making progress toward that goal. I think that's very important.
I'd like it to be 4 months because we're gonna have a serious report to know what our next step is then. And then we can extend it based upon what we know the next step is and how long it's but what we should have in this is what they said in Brown versus Board of Education, all due speed.
Yeah, I do think that would be an approach. Like I said, I've got no problem with 6 months as long as we're showing progress, but to have a more periodic check on it would be even more defensible.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't want Giffords to think they have 6 months. So I see the point of the 4 months, and then we decide from what they report
Yeah.
going forward.
I
So
think
we have-
Giffords, the timeframe for them was they were gonna try to get something within the 90 days even.
That'd be great.
Because I think that was, the original design was, let's see if there's a problem.
Make it 3 months.
So, that was the concern. I think now, based upon the discussion at the planning commission, I think there's a recognition that, there is a issue that we need to consider. I think it's anticipated this is gonna be extended, but how you want to extend it incrementally or in one shot is up to you.
Well, we can wait. We don't have to, do we have to do that right now, or can we wait until May?
The moratorium goes through mid-May.
Yeah, so we could wait in May and
After the
see
next
where we
meeting.
are. We'd get information from
That's a good
Giffords,
idea.
see
Well,
what they're
it's a
doing, and
90
then,
It's a
is that okay?
90-day moratorium, and it was passed at your February meeting, so.
okay, all right.
Oh, great,
So
okay.
that works out, but let's go back
We
to
need to extend the area.
we need to extend the area.
Okay.
So how do we do that, right?
Well, you tell me what you want it to be, and I will come up
Can you
with a
show us that
decision.
map again? 'Cause I
Yeah.
think-
Here, do you wanna look
You
at
want me
mine?
to just pass this
Oh.
around?
Great.
I have one. Anybody who, here.
I think we want to cover church.
We already covered Little Daddy's, but the church.
I have all my maps.
I don't think we need to include Cranbrook, obviously. Institution.
I would remind everyone that the reason for adopting this moratorium was to address primarily office space.
Mhm.
So to the extent that there's districts that allow office uses, that would be the focus.
That's a good point. Okay, so anything that, can we say that, anything that addresses, well, I would like
Within
office and institutional, 'cause
I agree.
which is a church, so I would look at office and institutional zoning. Anybody else have a thought?
Makes sense to cover that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mark, did you see that, office so office 01, 02, okay? And then,
And then we're gonna keep the city center area, which I believe is largely commercial, devoted to,
Retail and, yeah.
Yeah, that's mostly, but then to encompass institutional. Okay,
Throughout the city.
throughout the city.
and,
An office.
what is it that we're going to be looking at for the institutional? Is that,
Zoning.
It's requested
Yeah.
convert to office.
Yeah.
okay,
Or
Yeah.
homes.
Or homes, zoning.
okay.
Everybody's at, Alan,
I think it's great.
you okay?
No, I think
Alice?
if we wanna
Yes.
make it, we should make it 3 months from now, whatever that is.
Well, we'll,
Three months from, the expiration.
2 months from the expiration. I wanna,
Oh,
we can get a good response 3 months from now, right?
from,
I don't- I don't wanna give people
in
a
30
shot.
days from now, we should have some type of, she said she was gonna come back and have some type of, collection and suggestions. And at that point, we would know, okay, let's expend it 2 months, 3 months, whatever
Okay.
we need. We need more information.
Let's
is
not
what I
extend
think
it
you're
yet. You now know what you need.
I was anticipating another 3 months for a total of 6 months. Is that
Fine.
what you're suggesting?
Yes.
Okay,
saying. But we'll decide that in May,
okay.
right? Are you guys okay with that?
I keep on thinking this is the
I
third
will,
month.
I will come back with a moratorium for office, institutional, and commercial with a 3-month extension for your consideration, and then at that time, we can modify it and pass it.
Yeah,
Okay,
Would that be acceptable?
yep,
yeah.
okay.
Moratorium goes past the next meeting, right?
Well, it would,
It'll be at the next meeting.
be at the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Why don't we make it,
was-
let's do that, let's add a couple months right now, so we don't have someone who has no moratorium for 3 days.
They don't have a
No.
quorum or something.
I'm worried there's
What do
gonna
you
be
think?
space
You-
and I mean, I don't count the days, but I don't wanna have a 2-day opening.
Right, if we don't get a quorum next time or something.
Right.
That could
Do
be
you
a
wanna do
problem.
that? Sure. Okay.
I
Are
mean,
you
I,
okay?
the,
Or we could just do a quick calendar check and see what 90 days was from when it was.
Yeah, because it may be past 90 days, that's why.
yeah, let's look at that.
Why don't can we add a month to the 3 months right now, and then we'll avoid the problem, and then we'll figure out the next
Well,
thing.
that's a good idea.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and add a month, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, just,
okay. So we did this on February
We could call it a
10th.
special meeting if we had to, right, Kate?
Well, he's right, because our next meeting is on the 12th, and the moratorium was on the February 10th, so, yeah, he's right. Smart man.
Well, it was February, I get worried about
28th
everything.
in February, though, so it's a short month.
There's always
You
that
guys, you guys.
It's
Okay.
close, it's close.
It's close, it's close. All right, did you get that, Mark?
I'm sorry, I was trying to find my calendar. You want to extend it a month?
Please?
Or-
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
right now a month, just
A
to make
month,
sure we
please.
don't
Yes.
have a few day
So-
opening.
So revise it to go through June, the first meeting in June?
Right.
Or the only meeting in June?
Yeah, uh-huh,
Okay.
okay, got that straight. All right,
Is there a motion to that?
oh yeah, I'm sorry. Can someone please make a motion?
What do you want in your motion, Mark?
Just a motion to extend the moratorium through the June, city commission meeting.
I move to extend the moratorium to the June city commission meeting with a caveat that includes, the city center as described today and institutional uses within the community
And outside office.
And office,
and any office.
Any office outside
institutional,
of
commercial.
the city center.
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
yes. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, there you go, it's passed. Next item on the agenda, the commission will hear the city manager comments.
I just want to let the commission know, I think Express Waste is doing a good job so far. Well, that was a good move by the city commission to do that, because I think they've been pretty responsive to us. And they have been some issues, but they take care of it pretty quickly, and they do have a representative in the city during the week, so that's a good thing. I also want to kind of give you an update on the MetroNet and T-Mobile fiber.
Oh, yikes, yeah.
We've had a recent issue in the neighborhood off Losser that I've talked to many of the residents over there. And I think we've got most of that worked out, but I think MetroNet, for the most part, has done a pretty good job in the city. T-Mobile has caused us some issues, and I think MetroNet and T-Mobile are working together. I'm not sure if they're putting the lines in at the same time, or they're just gonna use the same fiber line, I don't know, but I think MetroNet's been subcontracted by T-Mobile. MetroNet's done a good job of communicating, but I don't think T-Mobile.
Yeah, that's the problem. Our neighborhood was up in arms because they didn't notify any of the neighbors, and they were walking all over their property and putting these flags, and, you know, people were
Communication was a
afraid they were
problem.
cutting their sprinkler lines, and they had no idea why they were there. And then today, when I pulled in the neighborhood, right behind Lynn Miller after the planning commission, they had put a sign describing what they're doing right at the entrance. So she turned right and she stopped, and I almost pulled into her because she, you know, stopped to read the sign right as she entered the subdivision. So I did ask them to move the sign. I mean, silly stuff like that, but they need to be.
So I guess, yeah, there's some issues, and we apologize for the issues over in that neighborhood, but we are, you know, pushing on them to correct these things.
Okay.
And the head of our group, Lynn Miller's husband Randy, sent out an email saying, we are very lucky, we're getting a second option to Comcast, and this is important, and everyone breathed a sigh. So
That's good.
I thought that was good to hear.
The makings of a class action for non-competition between the two of them.
Okay, anything else, Dave?
No.
Okay, the commission will consider other business. Does anybody have any? Okay. I'm sorry?
I had a question. Over the last weekend, we experienced a very large drone hovering over our property and our neighbor's property, and just kind of state of, you know, just kind of looking around in one particular area. And I'm just wanted to ask you, is the city aware of anything going on, you know, as far as enforcement or surveillance using drones, or is this an Amazon drone, or?
Possibly, I've seen Amazon
I have
drones
too.
recently.
I've seen a lot of Amazon
It was
in
a,
our
it was a,
neighborhood.
you know,
It's
big,
Yeah.
and what was a little
That's
disconcerting is that it wasn't going in and then going out. It was just hovering, like it was looking around, and it was there for quite a while. So I don't know if anybody else has experienced that or seen them. But
It's not that Chelan drug.
I don't know if the chief's seen anything like that, the chief?
We've heard a lot of complaints about the delivery drones that are just north of us, delivering for Amazon, hovering. They drop down a package with an attachment, and the attachment detaches and is left behind, and it's caused some concern. Absolutely call us. The sheriff's department's doing a project right now with their drones as the first responder, so there could be a lot to it. There's also one complaint of a person, a real estate salesperson recording a home, doing a 360 out the exterior. We got a complaint from that, and we found that we were able to track that person down. The one you're talking about, I'm not aware of anything. You didn't get any calls on that area by in your subdivision, but we are always willing to come out and investigate. We get them probably about once or twice a month.
okay, might be something to consider as far as an ordinance is concerned. But I'm not sure if that's gonna.
I don't know how you stop them.
Yeah, I don't.
It's a topic of discussion, yeah, and many residents in many neighborhoods or cities are up in arms about it. I don't think it happens that much here, but
It's lately, it's
But
been
recently,
really, I mean,
I've seen the Amazon
I
ones.
see them all the time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
good. Anybody else have any other business? Okay, that's it. The commission will conduct the budget hearing for the fiscal year 26-27. So I think we're all set with, unless you guys want to,
Yeah, we're just gonna
we're
go
gonna
in
go
the
back to the other
conference
room, okay?
So, yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
So strange, I mean, we're leaving